I'm Rod Duff from Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, folks, I am out. We have a great show today. Me and Sam were just chit-chatting in the back there, kind of getting a feel for how this goes about. I shouldn't say that. How our discussion, guiding. You go through those pre-stuff, and you know how I am. I'm not a. Let's see. What is the? Oh, I didn't turn on my lights over here. Damn it. I'll fix that. I was wondering why it was so dark over here. Anyway, we are we're having Sam on today. By the way, that opening video, I always talk about that. And by the way, thanks guys. I see you're starting to come on already. Love you a bunch. Thank you so much for your support and the way we're growing now. I have another podcaster on today. He's got a very energetic voice, so I hope I can keep up with him. I love his catch title or catchphrase. I have autism, but I'm not broken, and I don't need fixing. And that was kind of the thing he and I were chit-chatting because, you guys out there are the great middle class. And what we do here is educate and inform and enlighten and engage the middle class for many, many reasons. The not the least of which is taking back our narrative, taking back, the great middle class is the backbone that makes our country operate at the level that it does. Sure, it takes innovators, it takes, capitalists, it takes all of that, but it doesn't get driven forward unless you have all of us. And we've just been forgotten for so long. And what's interesting is, the more I do these, I start seeing information, real, true information that we as people, the elites have a lot of access to help, help and information and things that make their lives better. The great middle class doesn't have that opportunity. But what I'm learning from this show, I think we kicked off. I think our first kickoff was the very first part of November. Since that time, I've found some of the most amazing information that you don't hear about. Today's an example of that. He's a podcaster. You got to see his show. It's very cool. But I told him I'm not an expert on autism. That's why we bring experts on, right? Because I'm kind of the catch-all. I don't know very much about a lot of things. I know a little bit about a whole bunch of things, and I know a lot about a couple of things. That's what makes this work, because I'm very curious. And one of the first things I said to him is, you don't hear, like me as an outsider, I don't know everybody knows autism, but we're starting to learn so much more about it that it's not black and white. It's not, it's not cut. There's gray in there, and how hey, Sam, I want you to, I'm going to put this up. This is producer Barbie. She is the better half of Rod Duff and producer Barbie. She moved out to California, so she's a beach bunny now. Sorry, I didn't mean that, Barbie. I know you're going to kick my butt, but anyway, we're gonna have her pop on, probably have some questions as well. But Sam, I'm going to bring you on and let's get into this topic, because like I said, I only know the scratch of the surface of the challenges. I've seen a couple movies, and I've seen your stuff, and I've seen other, but it's such a bigger world than somebody like me would think of, because I don't have the details. So with that, Sam Mitchell, I want to welcome you and say thank you for being here. How you doing?
Hey, buddy. Thanks for letting me come on today. Good to be here, my friend. Nice to meet you, Barbie.
Yeah, that's producer Barbie. She's awesome. She and I have been together for like 20 years, and she knows me. She knows me better than I want her to know me, and or better than myself. So how long before we go into the deeper dive in, because I want to hear your story from the beginning. What two things? Um, Having autism, I think is something that's looked at very differently than it was 20 years ago. Uh, is it just media and the access to information that why we hear about it so much more? Is there other things? Can you educate us, and starting with you, and how that challenge and gift in your life is a daily occurrence to you? What does that look like to you, for instance?
Well, well, part of it is the media. You're 100% right. It's maybe somewhat looked better at than it was once upon a time. The media still is not doing its job. But here's the kicker. When you were in the 1950s, you would have been institutionalized for this. Today,
Yes,
there's people
exactly.
out there walking on the streets because of autism. To me, that's a step in the right direction. Are we aware of it? Yeah, I think we are. But there's still some people who aren't accepting of it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the in yesterday I did a show, and in that show we talk about what's coming up, and one of the things I had mentioned is during that announcement, let's call it, you said it's still not accepted in certain areas or certain people, and it blows me away that in today's world, different challenges that kids growing up in family lives have always been a blessing to that family. The ability to look at life differently is something that I don't think people really think about, but you hear the stories across the way, and then you get into as well autism and that spectrum across. What does that mean?
Well, to answer part of your question, here's the problem is they look at the negative stories. They're looking at the story
Mm-hmm.
about on CBS News, for example, and I don't think they did a story on this. If they did, I apologize. But they're looking at the story about a school shooting going on because there was autism. They're not looking at the story of a Bass Pro fisherman at the age of 13 years old, and this kid is on the autism spectrum, yet he's a pro fisherman at a child at 13 years old.
Or a teenager running a podcast show. I mean, come on. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. We don't, in society, like you say, mainstream media doesn't tell the truth. It doesn't say the story. It just shoots across the top of something that they think their viewership will be attracted to and get those eyeballs, right?
Right. It's very aggravating. And I don't think it's
Yeah.
fair to go through that stigma because of a label. That
No,
wasn't
but
that wasn't
right.
your fault.
No, no, it was none of being. It isn't anything but another segment, another piece, another inflection of the human species of natural life. It's not like you're you're going out and doing acid hits, and then something happens. Okay, well you still need to be cared for, but you are a young man that grew up and deals with and probably has amazing parents who challenge and make their son the best that he can be.
Right. They are amazing and they've had hard days too with me. But I think that's parenting as a whole.
Oh yeah, especially you teenagers, man. Parenting is parenting is not a pretty thing. Starting to get a little bit more people on. Can you well, actually, here, Sam, how do you inspiring story? How do you stay motivated? Take a little bit of time with that, and I'm actually going to get some light on me over here. So, take your time, my friend.
All right, I'll try my best to. So the way I stay motivated, Adam, and going to meet you too, is I pretty much try to go on with my life, and the people who are naysayers or do not care about what I do doesn't affect me. They're honestly in the background of my life. I've dealt with it my whole life. I still get looks at Walmart sometimes because of a behavior I might do, and I mainly did a lot when I was a child. But it doesn't bother me much, and I can't let it bother me, or I don't become motivated. And how does it not bother me? Well, it's the unfortunate truth, but I'm used to it. And when you get used to something, I think we can all agree when we get used to something, it doesn't fade you out anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You almost get a callous about it, get a tougher skin about it. It's, you've been through that story, and that's the other side of it. You're through a story that shouldn't be, uh, not imposed, shouldn't be spotlighted in your life unless you want it to be, because now you have a message, and you have a story, and you have a reason to go out and communicate and educate people about that. What are some of the worst things you talk about going out in public and having uh, ep- an activity or an episode or I don't know the right word. You had said the way you were acting. What is what what is that? Uh, how do you handle doing that? Do you ever get concerned about going out? Be self concerned. People have um, insecurities just in general. And is that something that adds to your life, to adds to your stress? Is it a constant thing you think about, or there's moments in the day or week or month that something may happen? I just trying to get an idea.
Right. Well, one way is big crowds. I don't like that. That kind of gets very sensory overwhelmed. I mean, great example. There's a lot of people next door. There's a reason I'm not going in there right now. It's not because of anything. There's not anything bad going on. There's just a lot of people in there. And for me, that can get very overstimulating, and it's gotten so bad to the point where I've had to put on music, and that's what really helps me too. And kind of answer also Adam's story. It's also I stay motivated is music.
Yeah. What kind of music you like?
Rock and roll, man. Can't go wrong with that.
Rock and roll 70s, maybe, or
And more like 80s. It's a tie.
Okay.
It's a modern twist of both.
Yeah. So 80s was more the big hairstyle.
Yep. Van Halen, AC/DC, kind of like that.
Exactly. I'm a big AC/DC fan. First time I went to college, I got my own apartment with a couple of guys. Actually, I was still in high school, technically. AC/DC was played all the time. Back in Black, Highway to Hell. That was all the time. That was some good stuff. How that get you rolling?
Well, it's going to get me rolling too, even more because on May 20th in Nashville, because I'm not far from there, I'm actually going to go see them via in person.
Oh, you suck.
I know. I really do. I really do.
Yeah, and you look broken up over it too, right?
Oh, I'm thrilled about it, man. You have no idea. That is like two I would want to see. Nashville, up in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, I know. Where? I know Nashville.
Nisa Stadium.
Oh, okay, gotcha. God, that's a beautiful city too. You probably know it, right?
Yeah, I've been to Nashville once for a vacation, but it was more of the sightseeing as what I did. Like I visited the Johnny Cash Museum, Patsy Cline Museum, all that.
You are a rock and roller, man. Let's see here. Great insights. How do you handle challenges on tough days? So I kind of was leading into this because everybody has challenges, and honestly, not to blow smoke up your dress, but you have more challenges than people, and you're turning out this way. So how do you handle? There's tough days and good days. On those tough days, how do you handle that? How do you get through that?
Well, I've been asked this before, and because of the autism spectrum, you got to be very specific with me. So it depends on what challenges you're speaking about. I mean,
okay, let's dig into that a little bit, because you said a couple things that that make you get oversensitized. right? Over sensation has a effect. What does that do? Does that make you anxious?
Yep.
What is that feeling that I don't know?
It's anxious, and the way I handle it is I haven't been to many concerts, for example. I mean, I've been to some,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah,
but I'm not going to go to be a concert junkie. Let me put it that way.
sure. That
Like
makes sense.
I
So
can't, I
what
don't
happens
I'm
when
not
you're
afford I don't have that
overstimulated?
affordable with that. It's
What?
anxiety. It's like trying to find an escape route. Get me the heck out of here. Pretty
Ah,
much. I'm not afraid to push or shove. Like it is a
you're
fight or
fight or
flight
flight,
instinct.
man. Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes sense. So that's a thing. I mean, I hate crowds too, and I get anxious, but it doesn't become a fight or flight thing. And it's amazing how substantial and significant the human brain is, because there's so many things that work through our lives to work with us, and it's interesting to see little changes because of anatomy and chemistry and so forth. I want to look at this real quick. What's the next for Autism Rocks and Rolls? So how many shows have you had? I've seen a number of them. You got some energy, dude. Yeah, I went on there. I was impressed. Very, very excellent conversations, and uh, you're lighting up, or you're supporting other. You talked about the bass, but there's several people you're interviewing, and that's the direction the show goes. Is that correct?
To a point, yes, but I also talk about some of the behaviors of mine, or I'll be entertaining for some. Like I compare certain hobbies of mine to autism.
Okay, and
Oh, some of the hobbies. Okay, Scooby Doo, game shows, Red Dead Redemption, airplanes.
you like airplanes?
I like to see
You
them, and I
fly
like to
much?
be in them.
You fly much?
I've done some flying through the work engagements I've done, but if I had to prefer, I'd rather drive.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you there. All right, what do we got? Any what are you doing with the show right now? I mean, obviously you're running. But what are your plans? I mean, you're still a kid, literally a young guy. I mean, and it's already got success. What are your plans? I got to catch up on some of these comments, but what are your plans? What are the next steps for the show?
Well, I have a nonprofit organization if that helps. I do events, speaking engagements as well, and also I'm
Oh
trying to think of
wow,
what else. I have a board of 6 members.
wow! Is that I saw on there you have uh, uh, support company? Is that supporting your journey and your time, or um, is that what you're part of?
It's more of like I'm the executive director and I'm their boss.
Wow! How old are you again?
22.
Ah, man! And you started when you were eight. Wasn't it like 18 or something like that?
16.
16. Okay. So, give me some of the highlights along the way. We'll get back to some of these comments, but give me some of the highlights along the way. High points, low points. Um, I'm sure there's quite an active life you led. What are some of the examples of what is a family, and what is the support, what is not support? When are some of the ups and downs that you've had through this time?
Well, there's a lot of support that I have gotten. I think that it's in what ages. I think I consider myself a lucky person to have support sometimes when I think there's some
Yes.
people out there who don't have the support, and it just mind blows me. But the way I also get supported is I use my resources to the best of my ability. And
What kind of resources? What are we?
well, that's a fair question. I would say resources such as I have gotten in high school before, a float pass is what they called it, which means I would go to the general lesson, get like the lecture done, and then go in the classroom, maybe get extra time on tests,
Yeah.
maybe use the headphones and be like, screw the rules. But and then nowadays what I get is I'm in a college program called Experience VU, which allows me to get help with academics. It's tutoring, but also they help you with financial situations, social situations, because let's be honest, college is full of peer awkwardness.
Oh, geez, yeah. And judgment and trying to figure out what you really believe. So a lot of extreme, you evolve through life. College is kind of before you start your life, and you have a lot of opinions. Barbie jumped back on here. Well, she's always on, but at what age did your parents or you understand your unique gift? Is this and how can we identify this in children early? Is there tests being done? And then I also want to get into um, what are your thoughts about how the resources you're given? I know we do stuff also on ADHD and a couple other things, and in their schools provide, like you said, resources for people that need, but they're kind of, I don't know, how good is the resources you've been given? And then Barbie's story.
Well, I'm going to Barney's story first because that's the first thing that popped in my head. But to answer your question, at what age did your parents or you understand your unique gift? I would say around at the age of 2, 3, 4, 5 is when I showed symptoms, but the diagnosis officially came at 6. And
Okay.
the way you can identify it in children early is, I'm not a fan of the online research because I think they try to portray autism in like negative ways. But I think online is a good place to start because it is true. The repetitive behaviors that you see online, the restricted interest, that's a symptom. I mean, it's a
What do you
classic
mean by that?
textbook.
What's restrictive in interest? I know repetitive motions. I get that. Well, I've never heard that second one though. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Restricted interest means like you're pretty much like fixated on that one thing.
Should have put that together. Makes
Oh,
sense. Yeah.
it's fine. Like professional wrestling, that was my thing going on. Still, I'm interested in it, and it's probably not going to go away. But for some, it could be a kitchen. It could be, I don't know. I met one person who I think is autistic. I'll be honest. Like sharks. I met one person who was on the
Like
autism
sharks way
spectrum.
too much. Like
Yeah.
sharks way too much.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. That likes fishing, for example.
Yeah.
Like fishing. It could be the outdoors. Like that is the one thing they are fixated on, and they talk about it nonstop.
Like how it makes them feel, or what's out there that they're seeing and discussing. Which way do you mean there?
Okay, maybe I'll explain this with a story. So I got a friend who shall remain
I love
nameless.
stories.
All right, and he got the honor of seeing one of his favorite country singers up in Indy, and he's a nice guy, I know him pretty well, but he doesn't drive, and my mom took him. Well, and conversations, sometimes the topics change, right? Well, yeah, I think you get this going. The whole time, the whole ride, I'm not kidding, the whole ride, he talked about this country artist. And every time my mom tried to switch the conversation, it would go right back to that country artist.
How long was that drive?
For her, it was an hour. For me, I had to deal with it for 5 hours because we also took this young man to another concert up in Illinois where my summer concert was.
Oh, where at? I'm in Illinois.
Oh, Pontiac, Illinois.
I think that's south, right? From where I'm, like Chicago. Well, doesn't matter. Anyway, that's very cool. So you do a lot of appearances, speaking, and you work with your organization to probably organize that and make things go. And how do you feel? And I swear to God, I'll get to these questions. How do you feel your story is going and or growing? Because we all know the old media, let's call it, is not a good source for deep, real information. How's your story going out and being accepted? How do you think it's coming along?
Well, I think it's going great for the majority of it. I mean, there's still some people out there who are always going to judge me, but it's on them, not on me.
Sure.
And from a personal perspective,
Smart guy.
as I said before, it doesn't bother me. Getting judged doesn't, bother me anymore as much as it once upon a time used to. But the way it evolves too is I can say stuff. I mean, I've done a TEDx talk. No one can say, not a lot of people can say that. I
No.
get to get paid a huge sum of money in summer for speaking at a DEI conference, and it's usually
really?
over. It's usually over. It's a good amount typically what I get paid for the majority, like 500 or something like that. This is above 1,000. I don't want to say the exact price because of confidentiality. I think my board would kill me if I said the exact price, but I'll just say it is over 1,000.
So your message is attracting more and more audiences. So there's I call it a movement. There's a growth in what's coming up. There's a growth in the message being accepted and understood, right?
Right.
This question here from Adam, I don't know if he's asking. I assume he's asking you because we both have. Every episode gets better. What has been your favorite guest so far? Well, it's obviously you, Sam. Right?
Well, I think
on your show. I think
you meant for me.
I know. On your show, what do you? What's your best? We all have favorites. What's your best show that you really enjoyed, and what was that about?
Man, it's hard to pick because I have so many. I think there's different ones out there that are more enjoyable than the others for sure. But sure. I think my guest that I've loved the most was you'll like this one if you were a wrestling fan back in the old days. I call it the Golden Age era. Ever heard of Jake the Snake?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
He came on my show.
Wow. Whoa. Okay.
Here's why I like his story. His story, it breaks my heart because of what he went through. I mean, he has 2 grandchildren with autism and cerebral palsy. His dad pretty much beat him as a child. Mom got sexually assaulted him, got away with it. And today he has COPD.
What's that mean?
He has a hard time breathing.
Okay. Yeah, no. Okay.
It's in the lungs, from what I know.
How old is he?
I don't know, to be honest with you. And he's been through drug and alcohol abuse. He's pretty old because he's, definitely, was wrestling in the 1980s. But I just like him because despite, 6 struggles, he's still going.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. People are wanting to support. How can people, this should be like a closing comment, but somebody jumped on here real early and they asked how they can support you. I'm not going to skip it for sure. I may say it again at the end, but what you mentioned them already a little bit. Your organization creates the ability for you to live and do this mission, this work. What ways do people support you and your mission?
Well, there's a lot of ways. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, donations one way to start, clearly. There's a donation button, I think, on the website, which is autismrocksandrolls.com. You can always help out through our events if we're coming around your area. Just go in there, be in there, volunteering if it's possible. I know, actually, this Sunday we're having our annual gala. This is our 4th one we've done. And we're going to do any volunteers for that. I know in the fall we always sell food at our local pumpkin patch, which we always need volunteers for that.
Go back to gallery. Is that what you said? Do you sell?
Gala.
What's happened? Gala. So it's people pay. They come in. They have I know what a gala is. Okay, gotcha. Go ahead. And then those are the kind of things that build the ability for you to, as I like to say here, keep the lights on. And I want to do this the rest of my life. I assume you do too.
Right. And if I'm in your area, come and hear me speak out if it's affordable to you. I think there's, some stuff that, you may not seem kind of worthless because of you're not familiar with it. Maybe worthless was the wrong word, but not relevant. But I think it needs to be heard.
Separated from society. I talk about that. And by the way, I'm going to go and I swear to God, I'm not kidding you, Sam. Barbie has not ever said these many comments during a show at all. So you got her on fire for sure. But before we get here, I was going to say something that you mentioned earlier. Because people have been judgmental when you were young, and that's obviously a negative effect. You're not, it's insecurity. I mean, I've been told something that you eventually become to believe it, and that being a negative thing. Anyway, I watched the show, and the name's escaping me right now. I actually just watched the clip. Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso. I think it's on. I think it's on Apple, but wherever it is, I watch it on social media. But and I won't go through the story, although it's way better if I do. But basically, he said he had picked up his kid. He always was concerned that people, judged him. They didn't think, they made judgments on him. And he said it used to really bother him. And then one day, I forgot the poet's name too, but one day he was picking up his child, and there painted on the wall as he was coming out was, "Be curious, not judgmental." And that comment, that phrase is simple and extraordinarily powerful. Kind of going back to what you were talking about earlier, people being, judging you or because of when you were a child, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So a little story on Barbie here. So she's been out here. If you go into our show, she's actually in several episodes. We practiced together for 4 months at doing this, rehearsals and so forth. And you can actually, when you go to YouTube, the first video that pops up is her and I's last practice session before the show. But her 2 months ago, no, maybe it was 3 or 4 months ago, Barbie moved back. We're all from California, Southern California. I've still got a kid, another kid, and a grandbaby, a 16-year-old granddaughter, just turned 16 on Sunday. There's way more information you want to hear, but she is newly become a grandparent, a grandmother. And so she's wanting to know, is there some action, some specific, because again, I don't know. What's the right thing to do? What's the wrong thing to do? What's inspiring to do as an input into your life or their baby's life?
I mean, it is hard. I saw the comment too. I mean, what you can do really, there's a lot of items
Right.
and actions you can do to support your child, and that's the biggest thing is support. Be there for them regardless of what's going on. And I think it's definitely possible that you might need to attend conferences or events, seminars, or
Get
something.
educated.
Get educated. Yes, there you go. Get educated.
Right.
Because, let's put it this way. You see a child in Walmart losing it, it may not be because they're being a bad kid. There might be something else to it.
That makes 100,000 billion trillion %. The just to extend into that a little bit more, lean into that question from Barbie a little. Oh, Ms. Giggle has been on here quite a bit. She's a big fan of the show. We'll get here she is, telling you how exciting and interesting this is. And I knew it would be this way because this is something that still isn't talked about enough. And like you said, still has a stigma to it. But what what is the thing that somebody can do, a family member, we're talking about support and you talk about supporting. Is there a difference along the spectrum? Like I saw a movie once, really, really good movie. The lady had autism. She went to college and they were at this parent teacher thing, and she stood up and the child was having an issue, and the all the parents were freaking out. Had no idea what's going on. This lady stood up and said, let her do that. Rolling is good for her, or hugging sometimes is good for her. Is it different? Just like every human being is different. Is it different? What are the things that somebody could resolve or reduce that that uncomfortable time? And are they different? Does that make sense? I know I extended that a little.
You did, but I get where you're going. I mean, there are points, and it is different for everybody. There are different support needs. I mean, there's probably not everybody who has autism that is in college right now for a good reason. I mean,
because
okay, you might get a meltdown in college, and you're gonna have people staring at you. There might be someone who still punches holes in their wall because they get so angry. And guess what? They can't go to college because of that. There's some people who are in the middle of the road who can get jobs, for example, but you put them in college, it ain't going to go too well.
Because there's too much
going on.
The reading. Yeah. Okay. All right. So many people in a classroom. No, it's called actually a auditorium setting, right?
Yeah, and here's the kicker too. When you're in school, there's a difference, and college. This is what drives me bananas with college: the pace. Like they go so fast when you're trying to learn this, and I'm not like that. Like, let me put it this way: I was put in algebra B instead of algebra A for a reason.
Yeah.
In algebra B, you reviewed the stuff. Algebra A, you're like, okay, you learn it, move on. Yeah. Nah, not how I do it.
Yeah, much more analytical and trying to pull the information out of whatever the subject is, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a challenge. What's one of the misconceptions? And we've kind of talked about this a couple of different times, but it's important. What are education for everybody is important. What are some of the misconceptions, or the biggest misconception of somebody having autism that we wish we knew?
Well, I think the biggest conception. There, you got the word out. Finally, with autism, is that there's a certain population that people with autism choose to look at, and it's the side that where they have to have higher support needs. Their mom brushes their teeth for them, right? They're still 20 years old. They can't go to the bathroom on their own, for example.
Okay, that's big time. So that's an extreme along. Why is there differences, or do you know? I know you've obviously done a lot of research. You've obviously lived this, but is there any theory on what causes the spectrum to be? I mean, I'm
not for sure on that. That's probably a question for the doctors, if I'll be honest with you.
Absolutely.
But I can give you the facts. But that's why it's called spectrum disorder. It's a spectrum. But the spectrum that people look at is the side I just mentioned earlier. That's not everybody with autism.
Exactly.
And people believe that's everybody with autism.
Yeah, I know.
That's dumb.
I know. It absolutely is, and it's evolving. Maybe not near as quick as it used to. We had excuses in the past because we didn't know any better. You talked about the 50s, very simple, big era for the great middle class, and a lot of growth and a lot of things elevated, but very basic knowledge base across the country, more or less. Not near what today is, even though our schools suck, but we're much more sophisticated than back then. As far as parents, what advice you've kind of mentioned? Obviously, support's critically important, and going to seminars and educational pieces are important. And then, does everybody have that isolation? Like, some people need to be held. That helps. You play music, that helps. Is there something that comes to a parent or a grandparent fairly quickly that is the thing that you need, that turns off the noise, the chaos, right?
You're probably getting away from the chaos, getting away from the situation is the best you can do on that.
Just retreat away from whatever's causing that.
Yeah, if it's a conference and there's a lot of people, get them out of that room.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Um, Keep breaking barriers, Sam. We need more voices like yours. We do. I mean, there's not enough information out there, and um, and on top of it, there's not a lot of people who have the personality you do to come in and have a interesting discussion about something that is critical, because this is a what is this? Is it 1 out of every 30 babies now?
They keep changing because it's growing. They keep changing it. It's 1 in 36
Yeah.
from the latest I've heard. It might be 1 in 33 now, but that's another question for the doctors.
That's no, but it's that makes this a very wide, for as much as it affects society, it affects society here, and we know about this much. At least people inside. So yeah, I agree with John here. We need many more voices like yours. What's the biggest challenge you faced as a podcaster with autism? Is that helpful to be safe?
No, yeah, I don't mind editing if you're wondering that. But the biggest challenge when it comes to podcasting is probably sometimes ADHD is something else I have, and editing's
I know
great.
that.
But the problem is sitting down and editing, like on a hard chair. I had to get up a
Yeah.
lot.
And not only that, but repetitive stuff is probably, for me, it is. I'm assuming, especially when you bring in that ADHD, because your brain is rewired. It's wired differently. You think differently, and for me, repetitive. I was talking to somebody earlier. I was putting in a bunch of gas, because we're getting a big flood of people coming in, but that meant I had to sit there and do a lot of data entry. Like I said, I didn't need to, but I needed to get up and just, do something more fun like this, because it just drives me crazy. I assume you go through that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Let's see. If you could get one message to young people with autism, what would it be? We talked about earlier, the diagnosis doesn't come till 6-ish. You start to notice things 2, 3-ish. When do typically people that I mean, they're going to hear it. Obviously, you have parents that are working with you and stuff. When did you kind of say, okay, I get that. This is what I got, and this is how I have to do my life. And
Well, that was at the age of 6 too. I read a book and it was like, all right, I know this. You're probably just telling me this. I got this condition, knew it. All right, let's go from here. But here's the deal too. I said it has to be usually 2 years old and you figure it out at 6. Not the case for everybody. One of my guests got diagnosed at 58. He was
58 years old?
Yes, he was autistic for his whole entire life, but he didn't get the diagnosis until he was 58.
Wow. And so he didn't know any different than who he was from the reason why he was.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be kind of, looking back, you'd go, oh my God, if I only knew 50 years ago, much less 58 years ago, life would be an additional an additional gift because he's going through life probably not feeling good about himself because he's a little bit different than everybody, but doesn't know why and can't not be, right?
Yeah, that was something that was hard for him to my guess to understand
Yeah.
was at the time span he didn't understand why, but he
Oh, even at why he was on the show with you.
yeah, he was on Show Me, and at the age before the
Oh,
diagnosis, he
wow.
didn't understand why. But when he got the diagnosis, his life made sense. It was like he could go back and say, "Okay, this is why I did this at 13 years old."
Right. Right. It goes back and connects a lot of dots for people that grew up not having those dots connected, and that's what I'm referring to. That's a challenging way to go through your life, always not quite knowing why, right?
Right.
So we chatted about this a touch, and back to your podcast because that was fascinating. I was wondering if you're going to show up in a suit and tie, like on your podcast
Yeah, that's a
advertisement.
professional picture. I'm one of those people
I
who, because of sensory feelings, hates
100%.
restricted clothing, like suit and ties. They really make you look like a penguin. And in my brain, I'm gonna
Ah,
stretch out my arms like this.
yep.
And with a suit and tie, you really can't do that.
No. And I assume the tie itself kind of brings everything in closer than you would want it to.
Yeah, and I made the agreement with my mother because I have to do it at this gala. I'll do it once a year. But here's the deal: the rest of these events, unless they're a speaking engagement, a very professional speaking engagement, do not expect me to dress up.
I could not agree with you more. I spent my 3 weeks ago, I canceled my last contract in my business. I have a machinery business. That is the reason I'm here in Illinois still. Otherwise, I'd be back towards my family a little bit because I can do that here. Isn't that beautiful? You can do it from anywhere you want.
Oh
Technology
yeah,
is awesome.
that's why I'm
But
in college for broadcasting.
exactly. But for since I was 22, that business that I chose to be in, I wore a suit and tie every day, and never again. Well, like you said, if there's that one important something going on, but this is my vibe. This is so much more comfortable. My God. So, as far as the dream for Autism Rocks and Rolls, like I said, we kind of touched on this with what do you have for the future, but is this just something you're using to be part of your platform to bring out the message that you have when you go speak to people, or is this something you want to do for the rest of your life? I know that's an impossible
Right.
question. Now I know I do because I'm 400 years older than you and getting towards the end of it. So, what do you say to that, my friend?
Well, I think my dream future with this is to make it a big deal, definitely for sure. I mean, you've seen big nonprofits out there like Goodwill. We'd love to get on the same level as them.
100%. And what would that look like?
Well, definitely owning my own studio for sure. Definitely not being my location being my own home, getting my own place. You know, my own, not like my own place to live, but my own place to work. Kind of like a radio station ordeal, which I have done. Fun fact: I was an intern at a radio station up over the summer, so that was kind of fun.
This last summer
Let me see.
or a couple
It
summers
last
ago?
summer or 2 summers ago. I can't honestly remember. Year
Sure. What did you
2024.
do?
WQRK
Oh,
was
that
the
was last summer.
station. Yeah,
That was
WQRK
last summer.
105.5 in Bedford. I was a radio DJ being on there part time. I helped out with the production side of it. Um,
Wait. You did DJ in there
for a little bit. I
and
mean,
production?
like I got to go on the air, but I wasn't like, the one guy messing with the board. But the radio DJ and I are still friends.
That's cool, man. That's very cool. That's good stuff, man. It feels good to be able to contribute and keep growing and all that. What's been the most rewarding part of running your podcast? I assume it starts with the ability to spread a very critical message, right?
Well, it's part of it, yes. But another part is giving people who have been in my shoes just light because
Oh,
they've been through
and the
so
voice.
much and a voice. They've been through so much, man. And some people aren't going to get it. But to be a guy that says, look, I get why your son took a leak on the floor today at Walmart. Okay, don't worry
Wow.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing we need kind of common throughout society, and society's evolved. So this is the beginning of an evolution, I believe. Branson, great question there, because every new challenge only does more to strengthen and enlighten you. What have I missed any questions that you saw, or anything as like kind of a final discussion and a final point? Give your social media stuff, and if you would write it down, I can transfer it into the comments late as I'm wrapping up.
Right.
What are
The
your
biggest
thoughts?
thing is the website, autismrocksrolls.com. That's where you can find me. And that's pretty much all my stuff on there, what's going on with
Yeah,
my nonprofit. And I mean, there's just so much. And the final piece of advice, it's kind of two-parters. If the world could be nice and not be so stupid, I think we get along so much better. Don't you think, buddy?
yeah, yeah. Not only that, but but the world would be have more ability, right?
Yep, I would definitely. That's a good way to end it right there. If we good.
Yep.
And then two, find someone's gonna find you interesting, and this is just the truth. I think for everybody, there's 8.5 billion people on this earth, and for 15 years, I thought. Well, actually, for a while back, I thought, well, there's only gonna be two people in this world who's gonna like me. That's not family, or literally one person. Well,
Guys, friend,
I was wrong. Yeah,
a lot more, huh?
I've been lucky in having the privilege to find a group.
Wow. That is your story is truly amazing. We gotta pick this up again, and do some additional dives into this, because it's so important. We talk about mental disease, and we talk about people that struggle with things that their mind isn't able to process. And this is a different, quote unquote, hate to use the word spectrum of that, but it's so refreshing to be able to really know the struggle, and only because at some point you want to be able to be comfortable, and the only way you can be comfortable in talking about it, meaning an uneducated dweeb like me, is to know what to expect from what you do, right? What I do. So God bless you for being here, man. This story is fabulous. Your personality does nothing but add to it, which is awesome. And why don't you give your fans out there a big wave?
All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for letting me come on. I know my hand's kind of in the way here. I'll do the other hand.
You should have done it with the phone, and then
Oh,
it'd be a wild
hey,
wave.
woo! There you
Hey, there it
go.
is. You have a good one. We'll be talking again soon. I'm going to put you in the green room and kind of wrap up. There's a wrap up video too. It's 22 seconds or so. Hey, man, Sam, thanks again. This was a artwork in motion here, my brother. See you later. All right, so that was my new best friend Sam. Uh, no, he's 22. He has a whole lot of life ahead of him, and having fun being young, being and going out and doing things. And it's just a blessing to hear a little bit more about things that are challenging, and things that um, should be should have more of a spotlight on it. And I talk about this across the the spread of people with um, uh, troubles, people with tyranny, people with you know. I can remember a point in my life where I was afraid to go out of my apartment. Sorry, I didn't bring any of that up, Sam, but the people who watch this show have seen, know my story. And producer Barbie is a really big reason of why I'm still on this earth and now have this mission, kind of like Sam. He knows why he's on this earth. He's here to create knowledge, to add to people's impressions, to add to people's knowledge base about all these different things that he knows, the expert from personal experience. It's not what I've read it out of a book, although I probably also read it out of a book. It's what I live with day in and day out. And these stories are so beautiful. Like I say, I'm the most blessed person. I know of you blessed a bunch here in a row, so my apologies if you didn't want me to do that. But I am so inspired because I readily admit it. I'm not that guy who's been a bookworm and learned about everything, but I'm a guy who's really, really curious. That's why I think I like that Ted Lasso reference about be curious, not judgmental. And really, that's kind of become what I chase after every day. And in this show, I learned things that I could never have been exposed to before. Hopefully, we'll have Sam on here again real soon. Sit back. There's a short little video that's about politics. By the way, soon we're gonna change that. It's just about greed. That's one reason I asked Sam about the benefits. You know, my dad dealt with the VA, and producer Barbie and I know the battle we did just to make that something that didn't kill him. I mean, literally. And then I was talking to another guy about that same thing. And then you go over and you look at every other government policy. And that's why I asked Sam, you know, how's that going? Because it just seems like it's always over bloated and under worthwhile. It's not worthwhile. Hey, folks, like I always say, I love you guys. Thank you so much. We're over 7,100 viewers now. I think we're working on 7,200. Hopefully we keep growing so that we can, like Sam said, afford to keep going and doing the passing of his message. Go say hi to somebody, wave at somebody you don't know, create a vibe around you. I really starting to like that word. It's an old word, but I really like it, the vibe. A lot of people are saying it now too, but anyway, with that, I am out.
Hundreds of trillions of dollars coursing through our economic veins, there exists a pathway where no U.S. citizen needs endure poverty. Every child should be shielded from involuntary hunger and thirst. By eradicating greed and corruption, we pave the way forward. This chapter delves into the rationale behind our governmental expenditure and prompts a critical inquiry into how our leaders allocate our resources.